Loud thunder, heavy rain, thin line between joy and pain. It's a long, strange trip, it's all insane. You ain't never gonna be the same. Living life through the night, thin line of the lightning strike. It's sometimes the only light. When the moon is tucked away, the camera captures all the things that make us turn from what we see. It's always rolling, it don't stop rolling. I haven't slept in 3 damn days. Yeah, but who needs...
Welcome to Cravin Iron Podcast. I'm your host, Steven Fiora. I'm here with Tye Underwood.
Nice.
Yeah. So on this podcast, we try to get people's story out there, transformations, just hardworking motherfuckers, just your roughnecks of the world. And Tye is actually going to be my new co-host. And we also have our very astonishing, extraordinaire electronician, Christoph.
El Christoph.
Hi, Christoph. How are you? That's great.
So,
anyways, Tye, let's hear about yourself.
all right. Well, I was born in Indio, California. That's in Riverside County, as you don't know. When I was born, I was a baby. I could not walk or talk. Through observation alone, I was able to build speech and the ability to walk. Finger dexterity was built up. Just simple eating Cheerios, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Did you get the numbered where you have the soup? You put
soup?
the
No, I didn't soup it.
no.
I just cheered and built finger dexterity, and then once I could live long and prosper, I was like, I got that, and I moved on with my life.
That's pretty good.
Live long and prosper.
Right, then it's good, right? Okay, I agree. Some people can't even do that now. Live long and prosper, right?
Valid.
Hey, Delgadillo, if you're watching, you can't do that. I know that.
No, we've tested this theory.
Yeah. Can you live long and prosper? Okay, yeah. It's a roundabout way.
Anyways, I think I hit it on point.
That's slang. That's
slang
live long and
for
prosper.
fuck you, Christoph.
No, I was born in Indio, California. It's a predominantly Hispanic area. So, I grew up in the 80s. A lot of people, crack was a big deal then. So a lot of people were on drugs, that kind of thing. My mother's no exception to that. She was actually like a drug mule for the local drug network there. So that was a thing. So grew up in kind of an unstable household there for a bit. Had a lot of other kids that were there too. Obviously there's other families, whatever. Crack houses tend to have more than one, family type staying in there. So we all kind of just, kid-wise, counted on each other. Let's see, where do I go from there? So, interesting enough, these people who were just like kids my age would end up becoming my family because my dad would marry my mom, whatever, and that was how do I say that? Okay, so my mom's best friend, her brother, my mom would marry her, marry him in 4 years, whatever. So we all just kind of grew up together or whatever. Like I said, they ended up getting married. It is what it is. I'm very thankful for it. I don't look down on my mom. You know what I'm saying? It's a rough time for everyone. They didn't know what they were getting into. They thought they were smoking crack and having fun. Turns out you can get addicted to that kind of thing. But like I said, I kind of grew up in this unsafe place where we, all of us kids kind of band together, took care of each other. The older ones fed us, and I kind of took on this protective role. So we'd have a lot of people coming in and out, obviously, right? Because there's no time to not buy crack, right? So people coming in and out, feeling in that unsafe environment. Andy Patterson, the dude that would become my dad, I remember him. He used to when I was younger, he would come by, and he was a lineman, so he'd be gone for like 2 or 3 months. But when he would come by, he would come to the house and he'd be there for like 3 weeks, because that's like how linemen work with their time off.
Yeah.
And he'd come by and stay at his sister's house because, you know what, he's not going to pay for a place. He's going to go on the road again. But I thought he was like awesome because he would come and he would just sleep on that couch right by the front door. And for 2 to 3 weeks straight, no matter what, when someone knocked on that door, he was up and he was pretty much like, if it was a dude, he's beating their ass saying, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Whatever. And if it's a chick, you know, he's talking smack and making her leave. And he'd always kind of clean it up. So towards the end of the time that he would leave, like, people would stop knocking on the door. And it kind of felt like a little, all right, hey, we're
a little
good.
security,
Yeah,
pretty much.
We're good, you know what I mean? And then he'd leave, and, you know, slowly things would progress. It wasn't like now where you got phones and people know, like, hey, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So it took him crackheads a little bit to catch on to the fact that he's gone. But I definitely saw him whoop a lot of ass outside that, you know, on that front porch, just getting crackheads not come by, that kind of thing. So a lot of respect for that. And then he ended up starting dating my mom.
So this was before he was with your mom? He was doing that?
Yeah. And like I said, it was actually his sister's house, my Aunt Cheryl.
Oh, I got you.
Okay, so he would come and stay with her, and pretty much like he's looking after, you know, all
the
of
family,
us kids, you know, and me by extension because I'm a kid who happens to be there, that kind of thing. And then he would always bring these action movies over, so he put on like Jean-Claude Van Damme movies for me, shit like that, right? Steven Seagal, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen that kid on Facebook that does the Rocky thing, where he's like doing the Rocky workout with Rocky. You have no idea what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, I'll show you guys. But yeah, so pretty much like the little Rocky montage, like there's this little kid in a diaper and he's sitting there doing like, you know, move for move what Rocky does. Well, I guess like he'd put it on and then I used to do that. So like, you know, like that's kind of how we first bonded. He's like, oh, this kid's cool. Like, you know, I'm sitting there doing, yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme moves like kicks and
he's like, he's kind of into what I'm into.
Yeah, perfect.
He's gonna grow up to be
choreographed right? Yeah. Right. So that was cool. And then him and my mom started dating, and you know, they got pregnant, and then he paid for our own house, right? So we moved into our own place, and that was the first time like I had a place that was mine.
Yeah.
But
had your own room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I shared. You know what I'm saying? I had 2 older sisters, but like, so we shared and stuff. But it was just like, crackheads aren't at the door. You know what I'm saying? Like, people aren't coming and going. The people that do come here, I know them. But it took a long time for me to like feel safe. You know what I'm saying? So what I would do is when he would go out and, you know, he's going to work, he's gone for a couple months, every night when my mom would be like, hey, it's bedtime, she'd turn off the lights. You know, the house is shut down. So I took some yarn from my grandmother's house and I'd watched Home Alone with the booby traps, right?
Oh, shit.
So what I would do is just to, you know, feel safe, because I know I'm younger, and like being in when I was in my Aunt Cheryl's house, I'd be like, all right, well, I don't, like, obviously I can't physically beat an adult in a fight, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm at a disadvantage. So my action plan for that was I'm gonna get yarn and I would rig it up down like legs and stuff so people would trip, right? And like all over the house, like there were spider webs by the doors, right? And I'm like, all right, this way I know, like, if someone comes in the house, then I can hear them, and then like I can protect me and my family, whatever, because I kind of took that role on. So funny enough, like when he was in town and home, if he decided to like go out with his buddies and drink at the bar, like I'm in the same habit, lights turned off, like, all right, I'm doing it. So every night he come home after a couple of drinks and he's tripping all over the house. Like, God damn it, Tye, you know what I mean? Like falling all over. So that's a fun story he likes to tell me. But, you know, whatever, morning comes and I roll the yarn back up, put it under my pillow, and all right, we're good. We'll see what happens. But just like through that consistency, then, you know, started to live like kind of a more like whatever you would say normal, conventional life.
Yeah.
They both like knocked the drugs out, that kind of thing. And
so that like turned your mom around and everything.
Yeah, and I won't say that, you know, that my dad was an angel, you know what I'm saying? Like, but when he would do shit like that, like he wouldn't come home. You know what I'm saying? So if he came back from his thing and he wants to whatever do what he's gonna do, then like he'd be gone for 2 or 3 days. When he came home, like he was good and even, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so my mom stopped muling all that stuff, and there's, you know, it's pretty normal after that. Being that like I had that, you know, action movie stuff in me, and I got really into it. Then he signed me up for karate. So I started doing martial arts, got really heavy into that, and that's pretty much how I spent my youth is like martial arts. I go and learn like a front snap kick or a side thrust kick, and I'd go home and I'd take it very serious. Like, it was very structured and disciplined with it. That word gets thrown around a lot. In the 90s, discipline wasn't such a big, common thing. But I would sit there and I'm like, all right, well, I learned this front snap kick, so I'm going to go home and I'm going to do it 2,000 times on the right leg, 2,000 times on the left leg, and then I'm showing my little brother, and I pretty much just spent my life doing martial arts that way. After that, home got better, but school's still pretty rough. I was like one of like two other white kids in school. So my parents were big on like, you can't let anyone disrespect you, right? Which in the 90s, it wasn't a big deal for kids to get in a fist fight. It's not so much.
It was just a fist fight,
right? Hey, they got to fight. It is what it is. But don't let anyone disrespect you. But being that like I was one of a couple white kids at that school, mostly Hispanics, they tend to throw a lot of shit my way, and I'm not going to stand for that. So it was like every day at the baseball fields, I'm getting in a fight with a kid over something stupid. Been in a lot of fights, that kind of thing. Pretty typical stuff, whatever. You hit each other a bunch and it kind of works itself out, that kind of thing.
And I'm sure that made it rough to get good grades and try to be consistent with school. Especially, like, how old were you?
At that time, I'm still in elementary school.
Yeah, see, right? That's something that probably built you stronger as an adult, but as a child, that's got to be rough.
Yeah. I don't. Like I said, I'm thankful for being where I've been. I never really had problems with grades though, right? So, school. I'm not saying like I'm smart or whatever, but school is always like the way I saw the structure is the first 5 minutes teachers kind of get accountability. After that, they the next 10 minutes they give you your assignment, and I'd usually finish mine in the next 10 minutes. Right, and it's supposed to take an hour and a half. So, for the most part, I'd finish my work and then I'm sitting there for an hour, like doing nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my grades never really suffered or anything like that. I was a pretty good student. I played baseball a lot when I was a kid. The martial arts instilled a lot of discipline. For one stint there, when my dad had left, and he was out, traveling the country working. My grandmother had came by the house, and she's like this, I don't even know, dude, like 5'2", right? Like just 5'2", super hardcore Christian, right? She's a Jehovah's Witness. And she came by my Aunt Cheryl's house, and she saw me in the playpen. Like, pretty much what they would do is they'd kind of like put us in an area where we couldn't mess around, and they go do their thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was sitting there like dirty diaper for God knows how long, that kind of thing. And she kind of just scooped me up and left. Didn't even tell my mom in the back, went in the front, grabbed me, boom. And I ended up staying with her for a while. It's probably like 5 or 6 months, that first stint. But I ended up staying with her for a while, and she would take me to meetings. So that's how I got to like know God, and his name is Jehovah, and start to worship and like see like so when I inevitably my mom's gonna come and get me because she'll do fine, and then she'll take me back, and like obviously substance abuse is a hard thing. But when she would take me back, it's like I kind of already knew like, all right, well, God's got me, and if I'm a good person, I do the right thing. So I started looking out for what would be my cousins and things like that. Like, all right, let's just take care of each other, and we're all kind of there for each other. So like I said, it's nothing I would change, man. I'm not like complaining. I don't want anyone to feel bad for me or anything stupid like that. I'm sure people have it a lot harder.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much how my up to my elementary went.
And now you're in Arizona. That was Southern California, right?
Yeah, Southern California.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what brought you here, and like what you're doing now? You're working at the prison. So
yeah. So I was doing baseball, like I said. I was pretty good at baseball, and I kind of just the fights started catching up with me. I was getting in a lot, and like there's street fighting, and there's like boxing, right? Like I would go with my cousins, and they were stuck at that house. Like they have no escape, right? They don't have like grandma or a nice place to go, whatever. So they're stuck in that. So I kind of got to see both worlds growing up. Where like, okay, I'm safe here, and this place isn't safe, but at the same time, I always kind of Like it always held like a place in my heart. You know what I'm saying? This is where I'm from. So we'd box, and that was a big thing there. Mad Child, who's actually a pretty popular rapper now. He claims Vancouver, Canada, but he used to be there. I used to box him. He's a pretty cool kid. But we'd box like 2 or 3 people at a time, and we just stopped when we got a headache, right? Which, looking back, like we'd box until we got a concussion. You know what I'm saying? But, but at the time, it's like, no, just box till you get dizzy. So we just be, boxing the hell out of each other. Like, that's one thing. But the street fights was a whole different thing because, like, at school, kids would talk shit, and I'm not going to take that. So, what's up? And let's go. You know what I'm saying? And it just, as I started to get older, it got more serious. Like, kids are bringing knives and guns to school, and they're starting to join gangs. So even if I were like, if you were a person that had a problem with me and we were to fight and I win, which is best case scenario for me, then now you're homies and everyone hates me, and now I got to deal with that because they're not going to be on the losing end. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So my dad started to see that, and he just chose, he grew up in the same way, and he chose to remove me from that environment, So that's how we ended up here in Arizona. He got a first job he could. That was a stay-at-home job with Mojave County Electric. He got on there and moved us out here, and boom. It was weird too, because coming from California to here, like the first thing I noticed when I moved to Bullhead was like the air was fresh, and it was super weird to me. Like, it was a good vibe, it felt good, but then like at the same time it made me kind of insecure. Like I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm used to like smoggy city type area. So that's how we came out here to Arizona. We lived in Bullhead for a year. That was pretty cool. Still had problems with gangs, things like that. My oldest sister, her husband was a drug dealer, or her whatever baby daddy was a drug dealer at the time. So we had some drive-bys at her house. That kind of stupid shit. Guns pulled on me, whatever, and he's like, yes, this isn't helping. And we were renting a condo at that time, so they wanted to buy a house. They're like, well, let's move again. And, they're like, hey, Tye, like, could you not mess this up? You know what I'm saying? Like, could you not be stupid? So we got out here to Kingman, and it was pretty easy, honestly. After being in an inner city like that, whatever, to come out here and deal with the teachers and the local kids from a small town, like it's kind of cookie cutter. It's pretty easy. I'm like, hey, I can navigate this. It's no problem.
I mean, coming from California, I know when I moved here, it wasn't when I was a kid, but just night and day. Yeah. From California to Arizona, just night and day. People more friendlier, actually give a shit about their community. I mean, Bullhead. I don't know about Bullhead, but I know Kingman. I lived in Kingman for a little bit, and then now I live in Havasu. But I mean, I'll never go back to California.
Oh no! I don't even like to go there to visit, dude. Like, my cousins want to hang out, something like that's cool, dude. Come, we got a river, we got a casino, like we're good. You come out here, I got you. I'm not going back there for nothing. I hate that place.
Well, I go every now and then to visit my family. And last year, when all the COVID shit hit, like here, we're like, okay, people are not pressing masks too much, except for the gyms and the bars, right? That was when it first happened. Yeah. And
the two places that, like, who cares?
Yeah, pretty much. You're drunk, you don't care. You're fit, you're healthy, you don't care.
Right.
But anyways,
just say it. You know what you're doing when you go to that place, but
no, just wipe down the shit. But anyways, I went to California. I ended up taking the plane to Sacramento, Vegas to Sacramento.
Okay.
And the first fucking gas station I get to. Okay, and I'm not used to wearing a mask in a gas station. It says on the door, it's recommended, whatever, right? And so I mean, I didn't have a fucking mask, and I get there, and the fucking the person at the gas station I went in to buy something. They're like, sir, we can't serve you without a mask. And I'm like, you fucking kidding me? And I just had like a fucking soda. And they're like, yeah, no, we can't serve you if you don't have a mask. I'm like, well, do you have one that you can provide me?
No.
She's like, well, no, I don't. I'm like, what the fuck do you want me to do? No, that's ridiculous. And she's like, well, sir, over there we have masks. And she pointed to fucking an aisle like in the corner.
For $42.99, you could buy a mask to buy
well,
your
no,
soda.
First thing, the masks
You
were
could buy
like
a mask to buy your soda, right?
so the masks were like $5, but this is what she told me to do. Okay, because I was like, hey, so I can't come in here without a mask. She's like, no. I'm like, but you expect me to walk all the way across the fucking store for a mask? and she's no, this is exactly what she fucking said. Okay, she's like, well, sir, you can put your shirt over your face.
Well, I could do that now. Okay, like.
Well, no, I was like, this is fucking stupid. I'll find somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I left, and anyways, I ended up driving down the road like an hour and fucking finding a place. Just some rinky-dink gas station that obviously they don't care. You know.
Yeah.
Even if they did, the COVID's probably the least of their worries.
Yeah.
So I went there, got my shit, but it was just ridiculous. I'm like, first fucking place I show up. And I try to get a drink.
Well, rinky-dink gas station, maybe they do care about like your rights as an American, not to
Oh yeah,
some stupid made-up law with a 99.8 survival rate, but that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, rights, amendments.
Yeah, So that's cool.
Constitution. I mean, who wrote that? Anyways. Yeah, I mean, someone said they were very wise. Yeah. So for some reason, things are changing now. But dude, we're supposed to go later on in the year, and I heard that Florida's kind of the same when it comes to that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first COVID hit. Now they spiked their fucking COVID. And I think that they're lenient because they're like, oh, well, I mean...
That was one of the first places the UFC went to fight because they were so, like, relaxed on everything. Yeah.
So,
Florida's
anyways.
ass backwards anyway.
Well, we're going to Florida in, like, a month.
That's going to be what's up, dude. You wrestle a gator?
I'm gonna wrestle a shark.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you. I'm going to fucking punch a shark in its face.
Yeah, well, if you do it in the nose, then you win because they'll just leave.
That's what I hear.
That's what they say. It's a sensory.
I'll test it.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah,
let me know.
I'll test it. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Anyways.
Yeah. So
anyways, you're in Kingman now.
Yes, K-Town.
Anyways, so you're in Kingman now, and going to school. You're married and have kids now, right? What'd you do before you ended up getting married? Like, what after school? What was your first job? And now you're in corrections, but what led up to that?
Okay, so when I got old enough, my dad started every summer. I was like, well, we could sit at home, we could be lazy kids and not be around them, or he'd give my mom a break because she's dealing with us the whole school year, and we can go out with him wherever the hell he goes and do whatever the hell he does. So that was the best choice to them. Made me sweat a lot, but happy for it. So I pretty much all summer long, my brother and I, we'd go out and we'd just be linemen, and we'd do the thing, right? So we'd sit there, we'd dig holes for poles, and all the good stuff, being bucket trucks, operating heavy machinery, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's kind of how we spent our summers. So we got out here, and it was more of the same. You know what I mean? It was I don't know. So he kind of instilled like a good work ethic in us, right? Because he had one, and his dad instilled that in him. His dad was a heavy equipment operator versus him being a lineman. They're two different jobs. They work alongside each other, but two different jobs. So most linemen last about 5 or 6 years before they either get electrocuted and die or quit. He did 25, 26 years until he got seriously electrocuted. The year before, he had fallen out of like a 2-story high tree and shattered his heel. He knew it was a bad call to go up in the tree and try to cut the branch to get it out of the line, but he's one of those people lead by example, right? Kind of corrections. And he didn't want to tell he's a supervisor at that time, but he didn't want to tell one of his operators go in the tree and cut that.
Yeah.
So he wanted to go do it.
It's I'm not going to tell you to do something that I won't.
Exactly. Basically. So he's like, this is unsafe. I'll go do it. Right? That's just the kind of guy he is. Hey,
fuck it.
Yeah, cool.
If anybody's going to die, it's going to be me.
And he's done some hardcore shit over the years, dude. One one time we're living in Bullhead, and when we had first moved here, and he comes home, and he's like super, he's kind of got his hands behind his back, and he walks in the door really calm. He's like, hey, what's up, buddy? And I'm hugging him. My brother's hugging him. Oh, Dad, I'm so glad you're home, all that good stuff. And he looks at my mom, and he says, listen, don't freak out, okay? Everything's going to be fine. And she's like, all right, cool. Like, what's up? And he pulls his hand out, dude, and he got his finger chopped off, right, by a transformer that fell on it. He's got his finger in like a paper towel, right? He's like, it's gonna be fine. Just will you take me to the hospital? Like it's all good, right? So he's just a hardcore dude. And anyways, he fell out of that tree, shattered his heel, and they ended up putting like this giant plate in there and everything. But it saved his life the next year when he got electrocuted. Because most of the time, when you have like pliers or anything, and you hit a live wire, it'll enter the hand and it goes straight to the heart. That's where most electricity is. And it blew out his foot because he had that steel plate, so it bypassed his heart.
Oh, I gotcha.
Right, so this fool, and I swear, like he's just, again, talk about how tough he is and everything. Me and my wife get there, and he knows that my wife's like really sensitive to physical things, right? Like she doesn't do blood and stuff like that. And the first thing he says, like I walk in the door, and one of his operators there, he's like, "Listen, your dad got electrocuted." I'm like, "Dude, that's cool. Like, just let me see my dad. Like, I don't even want to hear it, And I go there, and they got him, like, they don't even have him in a room in the ER. He's just on a gurney. So I go there, and the first thing he says, he sees my wife, and he's like, hey, don't let her see my foot. Right? Like, don't, he's more worried about her than what's going on with him. And I'm like, all right, yeah, it's good. And, she starts bawling. My wife's a very caring person. And I look at his foot, dude, and it looked like those cartoons. They're like when they're smoking the cigar and it blows out. That's how his foot looked like with skin. Like,
wait, so, like... His toes blown out, or his like ankle down?
His toes. So it went through it hit the heel, and then his toes were like.
That's like pretty hardcore gnarly, shit,
dude.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there, and I swear to God, he didn't lose consciousness the entire time, which most people would like pass out, right? He stayed awake for the entire thing, the entire ambulance ride, all that. And he got there, and it's like, dude, his skin is peeled back, and it's just like it's yellow, burnt hot dog, right? And it's literally like got smoke coming out of it, and he's just talking to me, holding a conversation. And so him and I were little league coaches at the time, and always sitting there talking about, dude, like, the doctors and everything are like, listen, he could die any minute, like any minute he could just stop, right? Like, so just be prepared for that. That's probably what's going to happen. And he's just sitting there talking about, like, listen, you're going to have to take over a coach, or you're going to have to take over coaching. On Thursday, we got practice. I want the kids to do this. Like, that, like, what the, like, you know what I mean? Just doesn't care about himself. Dude's my hero.
Just kind of like making sure you're going to take over.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's the shoes I got to fill. So long road ahead of me. But no, so he instilled a good work ethic in me. And, like I said, always did good in school, everything. After about a year in Bullhead, we moved to Kingman.
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. My turn. Okay. So you can't leave on a cliffhanger.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you did. Did he die, or did he?
No, my dad is definitely still alive to this day.
Oh, okay. Because that was a total cliffhanger.
You want to talk about a hardworking motherfucker, dude?
Yeah, no kidding. No, like especially when a doctor's like, hey, he's gonna die any minute. And he's like, hey, look, man, you do your fucking homework today.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna do tomorrow's too now.
It's like, listen, I want them catching flies. I don't want those grounders. Like, not one grounder's going past them. The practice isn't over until they don't miss a grounder. Like, all right, Dad, I got it. Like, right.
But no, you totally left it on a cliffhanger. Thanks for clarifying that.
My bad. My dad is definitely still alive. He's still a hardworking motherfucker. Kick ass. Okay.
That's pretty.
And he still coaches Little League to this day. It's his passion.
That's pretty intense.
So what he does, the funniest part about him, right? He's afraid of needles. Like the dude.
After all this, he's afraid of needles.
So he wants so bad to get a tattoo of a lion, but like he can't break himself to do it. So through all this insurance fiasco he's had, right? His toes were blown out, but his foot was still there. And at first they're telling him like, hey, we're just gonna like chop this right here. And he's like, hey, just take the foot. Just take my whole foot, take my whole leg. Just make it easy. Like, no, we can't do that. We got to try to save it. So they take his foot, and then he has like 8-9 surgeries after that having skin grafts, where they remove skin from his, like whatever hamstring and all that, and they try to wrap it over his foot. It's all this gnarly gnarly looking stuff, dude. Like the pain that he's gone through trying to do that is insane, right? And they just like through the year, it's been like an 8-year process. They just kept slowly taking parts of his foot, right? And he's gone through all these surgeries, all these skin grafts, all these surgeries. Finally, they took his foot, and so he has a prosthetic leg, right? And now his new thing, because he's afraid of tattoos, is on his prosthetic leg. He'll get a graft on that. That's his new thing. He's like, so he sends me pictures all the time. He's like, look at my new leg. This is what I'm gonna get. That's cool, Dad. Like, that's cool. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's super hardcore, dude. Yeah.
Oh damn. No, that's pretty. That's
still.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, you're like, oh no, they said he's gonna die, and he's just telling me to take over coaching. Anyway, so yeah,
I assume people knew at that point. Yeah, my bad.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
you're probably right. I should clarify.
Yeah, just a little bit. Thanks for clarifying that. But anyway, so he worked construction or as a lineman for his whole life, right? Well, your whole life, right?
Yep.
Now I know that like my family, my whole family, my little brother, he runs the water company in Lake County, Lower Lake Water. And my older brother, he works for a construction company. He's a heavy equipment operator. My father, he's a foreman now, but he's a heavy equipment operator. Grandfather, same. Anyways, I didn't go into that because of shit that happened in my life.
Okay.
And that kind of led me more towards like law enforcement, first responder. Now I'm corrections, right? Why didn't you go into that?
Well, so initially I got into construction because it paid, right? Like I was 15 years old and I started working construction full time. Still in school, still crushing it, still getting pretty decent grades at that time. They dropped a little bit, but you know, hormones and girls and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
You know, full time construction.
Yeah, right, Christoph.
Hormones and
what?
Yeah, hormones.
Hormones and girls, right, Christoph?
Anything about that?
Okay.
Oh, no, he's lying.
That's a long
fine.
story. Okay.
He doesn't want to talk right now.
So started doing the construction gig, which I honestly like. That's my favorite kind of work, man. Construction. It was awesome because I felt like I said, like I grew up knowing Jesus and having God in my life and everything, and I'd always joke around with my wife and then tell her like, oh, Jesus work, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
We're just friends at the time, but I just thought it was super cool, and it was super awesome to build something with my hands. I like that. Well, the market kind of dropped then, right? This is during the Bush, administration. The market dropped, and there was no construction. So I'm like, hey, I need to look in like to something that's permanent and consistent. You know what I'm saying? Even though I love construction. So I started looking at that, and whatever. I guess let's see, timeline here. I was probably 22 years old then. And like I said, I always liked those action movies, right? Like it's kind of corny, but the star is always like depicted as like that perfect man. You know what I'm saying? Like always the right sense of justice and the Captain America type.
Yeah.
And
protect and serve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Growing up, I was always a protector. That's what I did. It was a natural thing. I had a yearning towards that. And knowing God and everything that I'd been through, I'm like, okay, well, I get like that there's a sense of justice to this too, right? So that was kind of a natural thing for me. I got into private security, did that for a couple of years, didn't like the way it paid, and it's, being a security guard isn't really what I was looking for. It was just something that was quick, okay?
Yeah.
So that happened, and then I applied at different law enforcement agencies, and I applied at our prison, and the prison's first one to call me back, so I did that, and best thing ever. I figured like, hey, I'll try this and I'll get into law enforcement, but once I got there, it all kind of took hold, and I really liked what I was doing, so I got no reason to leave now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
Go.
Go out there and get my kid's shoe from the dog so he doesn't tear it up.
Copy. Okay, I can do that. Stand by. You got the case, Swiss.
You want me to stop recording or continue?
No, just continue. I could edit it out. Is it fucked?
No, we're good.
Okay, so where's my wife?
Okay. I just want to show you this. K-Swiss is intact. Okay. K-Swiss. K-Swiss intact. Uncle Tye saved the day.
Saved.
Protect and serve. Boom. Like it.
Okay.
I saw you super distracted there. I didn't know what was going on, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I saw it.
that
I'm
makes
like,
sense.
that's. I'm gonna wait until you pause for a
Rocky,
second.
he's worse than Christoph. Jeez.
Stop eating shit, Christoph.
Stop it, Rocky. Look, he's just looking at me now like I'm an asshole.
All I gotta do is
You were chewing a shoe.
put it on one of you guys and kind of sneak under.
I was gonna ask you.
You should have.
But no, I get.
Christoph. Shoot.
Punch yourself in the face.
Shoot. That's why I put the foam on it, so if it hits me, I'm good.
Yeah. Anyways,
I can't
so
afford any more concussions.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now you work at the prison.
Yeah, so applied there, and like I said, more consistent, and looking for something that, I realized like I was working 3 jobs at the time. I was working private security. I was working as a gas station clerk, and doing like homes that have been repossessed. I'd go and I'd go take like photographs of them and stuff for realtors. It was super easy gig, but essentially working 3 jobs. Like, hey, I'd like to do something that like I'm proud of, that I could provide for my family, because I figured out like, hey, no matter what, I'm gonna make sure my family's good, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted something to be more proud of, and like I said, corrections it stuck. I got there, and everything was good with it, dude. Like I get it. It's pretty easy. It's the way I grew up. It's a respect level. You give respect, you get respect, and there's not a lot more to it than that, right?
Yeah.
I know people like watch movies and stuff where it's this penitentiary style and whatever, but really corrections in the last, at least since I've been there, 5 years, whatever, has made a big change where it's more geared towards rehabilitation and helping those people to correct the behaviors that get them in trouble.
Yeah. So they don't go out and do it all over
Right.
again.
So I feel natural at that because I grew up seeing that behavior, seeing, like I said, I kind of had the best of both worlds where I'm living in a safe place and an unsafe place, and it just kind of made sense to me. Everything clicked, and it felt like home, On top of that, you meet a lot of good staff and brothers and sisters that I put my life on the line for. So how could I walk away from that? You know what I mean? Like if I were to leave and do something else and, provide for my family the same or better or whatever, and one of you guys get hurt, I don't know how I would feel about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things like, I don't want to make it sound more hardcore than it is, but it's kind of blood in, blood out, dude. I'm stuck at this point because I got your back, you got mine, and we're going to rock it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah, and there's always that, one thing that I love about it is once you get hired there and you hit the yard, right? Because you can be a OJT or a COT, which is a correction officer in training, but once you hit the yard, it's like you're joining a family, a brotherhood.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just like you said, blood in, blood out is, if one person doesn't come home at the end of the day, we all lost. Mm-hmm. And the impact that one person, like losing their life or taking their own life or something, because the suicide rate in corrections is ridiculous. And which is it shows, and it's understandable why. It's an environment that no one wants to just volunteer to put yourself through.
Right.
Right. So
yeah, like it or not, you're if you stay there long enough, you will be institutionalized like the inmates there.
yeah.
That's it. So everything's based on programming. Their lives and ours. Whether it's just your work schedule and you want to take it serious and you want to go home and sleep on the couch or whatever, if you're a bachelor or you go home and deal with your family, whatever, everything's programmed, and you become very institutionalized, and you got to be cognizant of that. You know what I'm saying? And some people can deal with that, and some people can't. The suicides like you talked about, man, that's heavy stuff, because we dealt with that thing recently, and that's really heavy on my heart. Luckily everything was okay.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And it's just sad to see it. So I think what hits hard, regardless who it is, like say it's maintenance, say it's case managers or programs, right? instructors, doesn't matter. But when someone takes their life in this field, you feel it on the yard. You see it in all the other officers, all the other staff.
Right.
And even if we don't know that person, we know that the stress level that they're in every single day, being around these inmates, right?
Yeah.
Trying to rehabilitate them and trying to make them better people. But I mean, some people just can't be helped at the time.
Yeah.
Some people are lifers. I mean, some people just don't give a shit and want to be convicts or whatever, right?
Yeah. And you know, maybe I'm wrong in the situation, but for me, it's like if you know a brother or sister who takes their life, like you said, doesn't matter what kind of what your job is there. If you work at the prison and you're there, and the stress gets to you and you take your life, it's like that.
That's a loss.
It's giant, dude. And so, like,
Yeah.
there are no words, right? Because to me, like, that person could have just thrown in the towel. They could have just left, but they felt that sense of family just like we do, and that's why
Yeah.
they couldn't walk away from it. And they would rather do that than just be like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna I'm gonna go work. I'm gonna be a Walmart greeter or whatever, you know. So I kind of take that really personally. Like, they couldn't walk away from us, but they kind of handle it, and that's heavy, man. It's a rough one to process.
Yeah, and I mean, we always stress with all the academies and just anybody, even senior staff that are going through hard times. You know, like you could be there 5 years and then you could hit a wall where it's like, I can't handle this no more.
Right.
Right. But there's a time where, you know what, it's true. The job's not for everybody. And sometimes you just got to put your pride aside and make the right choice for yourself, right?
Yeah,
And it's kind of like the situation we dealt with recently. It's a hard pill to swallow, but you know, I mean, it's I'm glad it's working out.
Yeah.
But we won't get too much into detail on that. But
no, that's their stuff, dude.
Yeah.
But he's everything's going good. And it's all good.
Anyways, so now you're a sergeant, and for you guys that are going to be watching or listening, so Underwood here, he's a sergeant on day shift now. You've been a sergeant for what? You've been sergeant for a year or a little more? Maybe 6 months? 8 months? 2 months?
Yeah, not quite a year, past 6 months, something like that. I'm not that great with math.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't really count the time. Obviously, like I took on that role a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to promote too soon. And then, like, I probably could have. You know, I knew my stuff enough too.
Yeah.
But I'm one of those people that want to wait. And, you know, I had it pretty good in operations too. Working corrections. If you got weekends and holidays off, like, that's kind of the gig, dude. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, Yoni's a big impact on me. Him and Panzer are pretty much the people I mold myself after. And he really pushed me to promote and take that step up. You know, I started seeing the other people that promoted in front of me, and I, you know, whether I am or not, I feel like, hey, I'm better than that, you know.
Yeah.
But I took my time to do it, and it wasn't until I honestly never even really considered it until I had a lot of, like, frequent staff always tell me, when are you going to be a sergeant? When are you going to be a sergeant? And then I'm like, all right, well, they believe in me. It's about time. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I took the plunge, and, you know, it kind of sucks because, you know, you're going to be stuck on graveyard, and you're going to have to go through all that and pay your dues, whatever, until you get, you know, established. But yeah, so took the bite, and I think it's 8 or 9 months been a sergeant.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, promoting at a job like this where it's not just an 8 to 5 or a 9 to 5, right? Where it's just all hours throughout the day. You got to sit your family down first. You got to explain to them, hey, I'm going to be probably on graveyard. My whole schedule's going to change. I'm going to have to work holidays. I'm going to have to work weekends. I'm going to have to do all that shit, right?
Yeah. Won't know my days off, all that.
Yeah, I won't know my days off until I get hired and I actually get it put on a shift. I'm not going to know my shift. I'm not going to know the hours I got to work.
And even if I do tell you it's that's subject to change at the captain's whim. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, it's just something that you have to sit down and you have to discuss it with them. Like, before I took lieutenant, before I came salary, I think that was the biggest thing for me, right? I started as a sergeant on graveyard, then I went to swing shift, and then I went to day shift, and I was only on day shift for like 2 months. But same thing, you know, everybody's like, hey, it's time to promote. And like, you think about it off and on, right? Because the turnover rate's fucking ridiculous.
It is.
But, yeah, they said, I was like, okay, well, I guess it's time, right? And then I was only on day shift for probably like 3 or 4 months, as a sergeant. But I had to sit down with the wife and say, hey, look, I mean, overtime, I'm working for free, salary, right? Paychecks are going to be a little lower because I'm not getting all the overtime. And even if I am getting the overtime, it's not going to be accounted for.
Right.
I explained flex days and all that shit, right? And the biggest impact was switching shifts.
Yeah.
Because
Always
obviously,
is, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hours are different.
And I mean, you never know what shift you're going to, right?
Right.
I told her I'm probably going to end up going to graveyard.
Yeah.
I ended up going to swing shift, and that's probably, if you have a family, that's probably the worst.
It is the worst, hands
Yeah.
down. There's
Yeah.
no probably about it. Swing shift sucks for families.
Yeah,
Which,
but,
which, like, you know, not to cut you off, but like, which for me is the funnest, best shift there is. If you're in it and you're a correctional officer and you're about that life, swing shift's where it's at.
yeah,
Right? But like, when I actually went to operations, it was kind of the same. Like, I'm in operations and I was PM programs, so I still get that swing shift life. You know what I mean? But I'm weekends and holidays and stuff. But it's when Bella was gonna start school, you know, the wife started like, hey, like you gotta be here, dude. Like we need you. She's gonna be at school. You're gonna go when she's at school. You're gonna come home when she's asleep. Like what's that about? So that's when I really push for days. But yeah, swing shift, man. It's the best and the worst.
I'll take it. Like, I've had my best times as a supervisor, just in general, lieutenant, sergeant, doesn't matter, right? Had my best times on swing shift.
Yeah.
Like, hands down. The family life, I mean, you don't get to see your family except for your days off.
Right.
You know. And if you work the weekend, which I ride on swing shift, I'd rather work the weekends and have the weekdays off, because that's 4 days out of the week you get to see your family, right?
Yeah.
The weekends, I saw them in the morning. I got to wake up in the morning, make them breakfast. I took kids to school every single morning, or daycare or whatever, right? Got to see my wife out the door every single morning. Got minimal sleep.
Right.
Right?
Well, that's the key. You know what I mean? If you're going to step up, then you're not going to sleep, but you can make it work. You know?
But one thing that if my wife watches this, I'm sorry, I'll sleep on the couch tomorrow. But one thing that I really liked about swing shift is it didn't matter what time you got off. If you got off at 10 o'clock at night or if you got off at 2 in the morning, right?
They're sleeping anyways.
They're sleeping.
Yeah.
I can go to the gym. I spend hours in the gym, right? And probably the best shape of my life on swing shift, just because, you get...
Oh, yeah.
You know, like,
You got a tool checkout form for that shovel, buddy? Yeah, keep going.
Just digging it. Best shape of my life. Not the best time of my life. Okay? But just because I get off at 10, I know the wife's sleeping, right? And I text her, and if she's awake and she says, hey, I want you home to lay with me, all right, cool, I'm coming home, right?
Yep.
But if she was sleeping, if I didn't get no text back, I'm like, okay, cool, going to the gym.
Open season.
And you learn to, I don't know, I learned to, like, be able to stay up late at night, and, still wake up in the morning with, like, 2 hours, 3 hours of sleep and run off of that, right? Yeah. Or I would go to sleep and I'd work out in the morning. It depends on if it was, like, if I took the kids to school at 8 in the morning, I didn't work until 2 in the afternoon, right? I'd have all morning to work out, do whatever, right? But it was nice because it was like unlimited for me time, right? But it was super limited for family time. Work was enjoyable because you don't have all the higher ups, right? As a lieutenant, at least, and sergeants, even when I was a sergeant, right?
Good officer, like it.
But I mean, you don't have the higher ups. You don't have, we call it the White House, sorry guys. But you don't have the White House there. Reindeer games. Yeah. Okay, inside joke. But you don't have them breathing down on your back and telling you to do this, keeping you like. Giving you this long list of tasks that is going to take you all day to complete, but you don't have that. It's just you guys, right? So swing shift has always been the closer family when it comes to be officers. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Just because it's just you guys. If anything happens on the yard, guess who's making the call? Is the lieutenant and the sergeants, right? Guess who's not coming to respond like that? It's the guys that are off from the White House. Unless it's like a major incident, obviously they're going to be there.
Yeah.
But like groupings on the yard, fights, assaults, all that stuff, it's us.
All the fun stuff, yeah.
All the fun stuff, all the good stuff. It kind of molded to day shift for a while there.
Yeah, they're weird when they started doing that at like 1400. It's like, you guys got your times messed up, right? Because most disturbances, like historically speaking, are after dinner chow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then they got to that thing where it was like, whatever, noon, they start messing around, and 13:30, and then something's going down. So, well,
yeah.
I guess it's shift change. I don't know if it's tactical on their part or not, but yeah, that definitely started happening towards the end there. And now COVID hit, and everyone just wears masks, and we're all super safe and social distance. And
social distance indeed, even though they live like 2 feet away from each other. But
yeah, social distance.
Anyways, we don't need to get into the politics of prison.
But yeah, swing shift, I definitely agree with you, right? Horrible for family, but good for you. And I started on swing shift. I think that was actually one thing that really let me kind of acclimate to the prison, was that I was on swing shift. So when I would get off, I would stay over, because I liked overs more than earlies. And Poulter, man, he was a beast. Like coming up into prison, like when you're there, you really need like a yard dog with you. Like, hey, let's go. And you got someone to push you. You know what I mean? So me and him were always kind of competing, right? And he'd be like, hey, we're coming in early, and whatever, we decided to ride together. So he's like, oh, and we're staying over late. Like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, cool. But regardless, when I got home, you have that couple hours to like really unplug from that environment, learn it, and decompress and get used to it.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people, if you're on graveyard or day shift, you want to get that necessarily, because you're coming home, and if you have a family or anyone at home, then they're at home with you, and you're kind of, it's hard to do both things at once. But getting used to the environment, I think it helps a lot, that you could be by yourself and really kind of like, okay, this is what happened today, and I'm good with it, and move on and relax and step back from it.
Yeah.
So to me, that's kind of optimal. Love swing shift.
Yeah,
I love swing shift, and I hate it.
Yeah, it's a love and hate relationship.
Yeah.
But I didn't think graveyard was too bad. Just because, so day shift, obviously you get the most family time, right? I didn't think graveyard was too bad when it came to family time, either, because when I was on graveyard, I made a decision I told my wife, hey, I will be up in the morning and sleep before work, or I'll sleep in the morning and stay up, or wake up like at noon or whatever, and be with you and the kids all day. It depends on the day, obviously. If they're in school in the morning, I'm going to sleep in the morning, obviously. But, or if she has to work or whatever, right? But if they're not in school, and they want to be up in the morning and she needs some help with breakfast and whatever, then I'll help her out. So, you have like the options there. It's just you got to really train your body, because you never really get used to the hours of graveyard, or just like your sleeping habits. Like, you're always tired, you're always worn out, and it's even when they're fully staffed, they're the shortest staff, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Coming in
early, you're staying over, period.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, so even fully, day shift, you have more posts to cover, you have more staff, so staffing levels is 34 is the maximum for day shift. Just us, not including operations, case managers, all the people that can help, right?
The necessary.
Help, right? So, but same with swing shift, right? They have 34. Graveyard has, 22, 21? Something right there?
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, 22 is the max staff.
It's actually 26.
Or something around there, right? But it's doesn't matter. You're always short staffed, right? So you're probably doing some overtime, and it's just killer on your body.
It's a beast, yeah.
Yeah, you were on graveyard. I was on graveyard. I was only on graveyard as a sergeant when I first started, for probably 4 or 5 months, and I was with probably. Okay, they weren't that great of instructors when it came to being a new sergeant and needing to be trained. We're gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. So I did a 5-month graveyard stint before getting days, and honestly, I thought for sure I'd end up going to swing shift. Just cards be the way they are.
You're welcome.
And turnover and stuff. Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't do it.
Sure, it was single-handedly you.
I did it with me, guys.
Yeah. I'm the man. Yeah.
I single-handedly.
Right, yeah. Had nothing to do with anything else. Yeah, I did a 5-month graveyard stint, and I was lucky. I can't, Contreras is my lieutenant, and he pretty much hey, me and Chavez ran the shift. That's it. And Chavez, awesome sergeant. He's a great dude, great operator, great sergeant. Can't say enough good things about him. Great person, great human. Love him to death.
He has a really big heart.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So obviously I already knew him, and we worked in operations together. I was the one that kind of persuaded him, not persuaded him, but he started asking me about TSU and everything. And I was the one that hey, yeah, you should do that. So got him on the team and everything, and so we already had a pretty tight relationship before. But we just meshed with what we thought the supervisor was and how they should operate. So my graveyard stint was good. My wife is always super awesome, right? We've known each other since 6th grade. I walked her home her last day of school, 6th grade, and we've been best friends ever since. And obviously married now, got kids, all that good stuff. But she's always super. She knew that I wanted to do something to fulfill my life, and she sees she saw that happen in the prison. That hey, you're different. This is something to you, and you're whatever, better man, or however you want to put it.
Yeah.
So no matter what I get saddled with, she's always supporting me in doing that. So my graveyard stint was pretty much I come home and I go to sleep, and then I wake up around 2 or 3 and hang out with the kids, family, all that good stuff, and just be exhausted by the time I got to work and get through 8 hours and go home, go to sleep, and do it again.
Yeah.
I really didn't realize how much of an impact it had on me until I got COVID. When I had the Rona, and I got that 10 days off. Obviously, the vid. The Rona. Yeah. The Rona is 2020. Just for those of you who don't know, we're calling it the vid now in 21. Okay, it's upgraded.
The vid. It's not the Rona. It's not Corona. It's the vid.
That's not to be mistaken with the venereal disease. That's not what that is. I'm not sure how the transmission goes yet, but so when I got the Rona, I had that 10 days off, and I was obviously for my days off, I'd go home on my Friday, sleep, take a nap, and then wake up and go back day shift. So for that 10 days off, I realized how draining it was on me and everything, and that's when I really started pushing the captain hey man, I don't care where it is, but give me somewhere else, because this ain't good for me. Do
you want to explain what you did to the captain to get?
Well, it's quite simple. So
quite simple, really. I had a mastermind plan to annoy him, bug him until I got and proceed.
I know I do what I want. No, he's obviously a reasonable person, but it works off who puts in a memo for a thing first, right? So I put in a memo for day shift. The swing shift sergeants, I was looking at who was there, and I didn't see anyone leaving, so I thought day shift would probably open up first, just with things that were going on at the time. But so I put that in, and word got back to me, because obviously I'm graveyard, and I don't want to hang out at the prison for an hour and a half to talk to the captain, because I'm lazy. And like I said, I've been up since 2 o'clock, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the morning before. So I go home and I go to sleep. And word got back to me about 2 days later from swing shift. They're hey, Captain said he didn't get your memo. And I put it under his door. All right, that's cool. No problem. So I found someone with keys, and I printed off about 50 to 60 of those things. And I put them in every drawer, nook, cranny, all over the place, right? He's going to see this memo. That's it. That's all there is to it. I put him on his keyboard, a hangboard. To this day, he's still opening things, finding memos for me to go to day shift, even though I'm day shift.
Yeah, no, every now and then I'll walk in there and he'll open up a new drawer and he'll say, fucking Underwood. And he pulls out another memo. And it's the same fucking memo to come to this. He's been on day shift for a month. And I'm still finding these fucking things.
That's right.
He even has one on his board that he just didn't take down because he quit. He's I'm gonna find more anyways. I'm gonna take that one down and 3 more are gonna pop up.
So I told him to throw it out. I'm hey, you throw that out. He's no, what's the point? I'm all right, good for you.
Yeah, you did good on that
it'll
one.
probably be a couple more years, yeah. And then the calendar thing that I think that got him too.
Yeah.
The bull calendar.
Yep.
Yeah,
now it's in my office.
Yeah. That was my spare Z. Thank you, Alfonso's. Right. Yeah. So. But I think, honestly, the promoting gig it's not too hard to say, hey, I need to do this. It's my time to step up. Being an operator like we are on TSU and everything, you've already made that commitment. So it's not it's not so much like going from a line staff perspective of like, do I want to switch shifts? Should I do this? Should I not? I feel like as a firearms instructor, all that good stuff, ASP instructor, TSU operator, all that, like you're pretty much already you're gonna take that role whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So you get paid for it, and you can do the job, or you could just be some officer. So it wasn't that hard to step into it, and like I said, like anyone on TSU, you've already made that commitment of 24/7. You give me a call, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to handle business and provide for the preservation of life, property, and order. So it's not a big deal. Yeah.
You went all tactical priorities on us. I like it.
Christoph right there. Yeah. That's number one, by the way. But
Number one, yeah.
Number one. Okay.
You're welcome. But no, no. There's a time in your career as corrections, if you are trying to get a career or trying to create the career in corrections, right, or proceed with it. There's a time where you're like, enough's enough. Like you hit that wall, right? You have that drive at the beginning of your career, of your job, right? You hit that wall, and like I don't like my job anymore, or I'm gonna be complacent or do the easy route, because corrections can be as easy as you want to make it, right? But the only time it's hard is when you're trying to do your job, but you're doing it in a disrespectful way, or you're not doing it right. Right? You're not learning. You're not evolving into a good officer, right? But there's a time where you hit that wall and you're like, that's what's going to make or break you. You're either going to make that decision, like I want to better my career, or it's time to get out.
Yeah.
A lot of staff don't get out, and that's what makes them bad staff. Right?
Yeah.
In the long run. I mean, let's be honest. I hate to be blunt, but shitbags. Right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, and I hit that wall when I moved from swing shift to day shift. I was on yard on swing shift for a while, and I was like, okay, cool, got a good spot, right? And then the day shift spot popped up, and they're like, hey, you're going to day shift. I'm like, all right, cool, right? I got put in dorm 2 floor for like 6 to 7 months.
I think that's actually when I met you.
Yeah. I was 2 floor for a while, right? And that's after like working my way up on swings, right? But when you go to a different shift, they kind of know your work ethic, but it's not to the extent.
They got to test.
They got their people though, right? Yeah. They already have their people that they're go-tos, right? I wasn't one of them because I was swing shifts, but I wasn't day shifts, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was 2 floor for a while. That's when I hit my wall, and I started getting complacent. I started finding myself not enjoying what I do anymore, right? And so I made the choice to change.
Yeah.
So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna take 2 weeks off. I'm gonna go to visit my family in California, and I'm gonna make that change. When I get back, I'm gonna be the officer that I used to be, with that drive and that desire to make a career out of this, right?
Just hitting reset, pretty much.
Yeah. So when I was getting my last day there, I told the inmates, right, that I was managing in the dorm, right, or supervising, and I told them, hey, I'm going on vacation, and when I get back, strict compliance, no more complacency. You guys are gonna get your shit together, right? And they're like, okay. I've been in there for a while. They know how I operate, right? I'm not a fucking liar. I'm pretty consistent, but you know, yeah. So they said, okay, we'll see ya. I'm like, bye. So took off 2 weeks, came back, and I did what I said I was gonna do. Panzer, he was my sergeant at the time, Swartz as well. Yeah, and they saw my potential after that. After like a month, and I hit it hard. Right. I hit it hard.
Came back fresh.
Yeah. Ready to go. So started loving my job again. Even when I was in the dorm, I didn't even want to. I mean, I started finding drugs again. I started finding contraband, and just like, you know, I mean, the sky's the limit when you actually want to pursue something, and you actually want to just do your job and be observant and understand how your inmates are operating, or your dorm, right? Learn your inmates, learn your environment, right? And anyways, So, my job became fun again. And that's when I ended up, Pandra came up to me and said, hey, I want you to join Tactical. And I was like, I got to talk to my wife. Right? So, like, 30 minutes later, he comes in and application filled out. He's like, sign this. I'm like, what is that? And I read it, and it's an application for Tactical.
Yeah.
He's like, I already filled everything out for you. Just sign here. I'm like, I got to talk to my wife. He's like, give me your hand. I'm like, right? And he gets my hand. He's like, okay, now sign it. I'm like, oh, okay, jeez. Anyways, so I joined TSU, right? And, or I did the interview process, all that stuff. But then I ended up getting duties for a while. Officer Haverty was my partner for a while, and Guthrie, Taki. But got duties and ended up getting yard, and I was yard for like maybe 2 years. And that's when Wrigley actually came up to me, the warden. He said, hey, you should promote. You should put in for sergeant. I'm like, I don't know. I'll think about it. Then staff started saying it, like how you got presented to it, right? Yeah. So they started saying it, hey, you should promote. You should think about doing this. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it is time, So I ended up promoting. But anyways, yeah. It was, but you hit that wall, and you just got to either decide, is this going to be your career? What are you going to do to change it? Or is it time for a new job? Yeah. Because it's not for everybody. I don't care if you've been there for like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. Okay? If you hit your breaking point, or if you hit that wall and you can't push forward from that, then maybe it's time.
I don't even know if it's a question of if, but when, right? Because actually, Baumeister was talking about complacency, and he was talking about like battling complacency, whatever. And to me, that's like everyone does it, right? So for the longest time, being a firearms instructor, I'd tell the Kodo Academies, like, be complacent, be complacent. But we're all humans. So you're going to get complacent in one area or another, right? Not like so complacent that like you're just not doing your job or being a quote unquote shitbag, as we like to say. But just little things like not enforcing, hey, you don't have your ID on, you're not in compliance, whatever. So you're always kind of battling that, right? And for me, with the tactical thing, Yoni was actually brought it up. I was doing a constant watch at CDU, and he's like, hey, you ever thought about tactical? I'm like, no, not really. And he's like, oh, well, I think you'd be good, whatever. Like, all right, well, that's something I'll think about, man. Thanks, And he's like, all right, well, just so you know, I think you'd be good. And then, like, it was every, pipe check, which is, every 10, 15 minutes throughout every pipe check throughout that constant watch, he'd hit me up with the same thing, like, yeah, man, I think you'd be good. And, so I ended up filling out the application. Panzer saw it, and he's like, hey, yeah, no, I think you'd be good. Or not, we'll see, one of those, Panzer is. But I just kind of took it on, like, when I'd see them come on the yard and do quarterly searches or handle business or, whatever they're doing, vehicle searches, whatever aspect they're activated in. I always saw it and I thought, like, well, I could do that. Like, I could be good at that. So, it's something I wanted to pursue. But definitely, if it wasn't for TSU, I wouldn't have done all the things that I've done, because with TSU, that's when I made the commitment of, like, this is my career. I'm going to do this. So, from there on out, it was kind of seamless, all the transitions I've made.
Yeah. Now, let's get back to your family. You have kids and a wife, right? And she was your best friend. So, how old are your kids, and what's her names, and all that good stuff? Let's get into that.
Isabella is my oldest. She is 7. Riley is my oldest son. He's 6 years old. Olivia is my youngest daughter. She's 4. And Shane is 1. He just turned 1 on the 4th of January. So, yeah.
That's pretty legit.
Go ahead. No. What made you come up with those names?
Those names? A lot of thought and effort. So Isabella, obviously my first kid, right? Like, I don't know. I took that role super serious, right? Like, being that, like, I hate to even use the word stepdad because he's always been in my life. He is my dad, period. But being that like I didn't know my father or who he was or anything about him, that I always told myself like, well, when I become a parent, it's going to be solid. That's my life. So, you know, we got pregnant on purpose. It was definitely a purpose thing. Actually, I think, God, we were probably married for like 7 years before we decided to have a baby, and it pretty much ended up to my wife like, hey, like I really want to have a kid. Like, we need to get this rolling. Because I kept trying to do the responsible thing of like, let's be financially set. Let's do this. She's like, look, dude, like this needs to happen. I'm saying, I'm like, all right, cool. So, I think for Isabella, I read 3 babies' name books. So, my wife and her 2 sisters are all named after princesses. So I kind of wanted something along that theme. And after reading 3 baby name books, Isabella was super good. It just kind of hit me. Excuse me. You know, it stuck, something about it resonated with me. And, you know, my wife and I like Beauty and the Beast, right? Because I'm an ugly motherfucker. And, you know, she's a princess.
This is true.
Cool.
Yeah, I can.
Very ugly, right? So that was good. So we liked Isabella. And then her middle name is Grace. We came up with that when my wife was pregnant. A rainy day, you know, doors, windows open, all that, whatever. We ended up watching Armageddon, and you know, Grace is the daughter of that. So we're like, hey, yeah, that's pretty dope. So we went with Grace. Riley is actually he's my son. I adopted him about a year ago. He's actually my nephew. So his name is already Riley. We did change his middle name to Tyson. It's just one of those stupid things. My dad always told me, like, hey, you know, your name is my middle name is Tyree. I always went by Ty my whole life. My grandfather's name is Jackie, and that's my first name. But being that was his name and my name, I never really went by Jackie because they don't, you know, want to be saying the same name. So I was always Ty, or Ty Bud to everyone. So I went by Ty, and my dad always thought, like, hey, you know, when you're older, you should name your son Mike, and then I could say, this is Mike Ty's son, right? Like, because Mike Tyson was kind of a big deal at the time. So I don't know why. Yeah, it kind of stuck with me. So when we adopted him, we changed his middle name to Tyson, last name Underwood, whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's my boy. That's my dude. And then Olivia, my wife actually picked that name out. That was just, it's what she always wanted her daughter's name to be, Olivia, and her middle name is Rosemary after my grandmother, who, you know, obviously helped me out when I needed it, when I was a baby and all that good stuff. Young and, you know, couldn't take myself out of a crack house, and she did. So, mad props to you. And yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well,
oh, sorry.
Oh,
last kid, Shane. Right?
Oh, okay.
Shane.
Yeah, I forgot one.
Shane, sorry. Yeah,
you're gonna sleep on the couch.
I love him. He's my favorite. Okay, so Shane is super cool, and honestly, I was named out, dude. Right? And he was not expected or anything, and we batted around with a lot of like biblical names and everything. Isaiah was one that I really liked, but you know, whatever. No one else could get on board with. And Shane, as stupid as it sounds, I just no, not the name Shane, right? I honestly think Shane is a dope name, but as stupid as the story sounds, okay, I got it from The Walking Dead, dude.
You're gonna need
that's it, right? Shane from The Walking Dead, right? Shane, right? Enough, yeah. Okay. I just thought it was so tough. Like I wanted him to have a tough name, right? I grew up as Jackie and dealing with all that, and then you know, poor Riley now. With this Inside Out movie, like Riley's more of a girl name than a boy name, so I wanted to make sure that whatever I named him, it was like a solid, tough boy name. And I don't see, no matter what happens with all the, you know, all the stuff going on in the world, Shane becoming a girl name. So
it's 2021,
so like Shane works. And his middle name is Jackson, right? Because Jackie, so Jack's son, Ty's son, kind of theme there. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all the kids. Okay. Moving on. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
That was
I appreciate you.
Christoph's going to get you shot by your wife.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate you. Jeez.
With those kind of questions, shit.
So glad he asked the question.
Man, I forgot a kid. I'll give you a bigger shovel next time. I'm sorry.
Thanks, bud. Thanks.
Man.
Okay.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Thank you.
All right, so everybody that's going to be watching or listening. So this podcast has always been for other people's story, right? Transformation stories, anybody that to help us motivate you guys, the ones that are watching, and to better your life. So if you got anything from this podcast, just share it with your friend, family, gym partner, whatever. And a route that we're going to be going with this one now, and the reason why I wanted Tye to be on here and Christoph over here, that guy.
We'll get him in here soon.
We'll get him in here soon.
Yeah, right.
And let him introduce himself.
He's got a big boy chair now, so.
Yeah, he upgraded. But anyways, so the route we want to go is we want to start hitting local businesses. I've had people from Philadelphia. I've had people from the demo crew, from Action Sledge, and athletes from Action Sledge, and just I've had multiple people from that side of the United States on here, and I'm going to try to hit more locals, local businesses. I've always been for supporting local businesses, and I feel like this is the best way that we, as Cravin Iron Podcast, can support our local businesses. Mm-hmm. We can help them get their stories out there, why they started their business, why they, what their business represents to them. Because, I mean, obviously, you're not going to just start a business just to start a business. You have a meaning to it, right?
Some kind of passion behind it.
Some kind of passion, yeah, right. So, anyways, we're going to learn all that about these guys. Okay, we already have a couple lined up, and I'm looking forward to bringing them on. And you guys will meet them shortly, hopefully, within the next couple weeks. But and we're gonna try to get you weekly podcasts. We're gonna bring on Christoph, let him introduce himself. He's gonna be our computer extraordinaire,
the whiz kid.
Yeah. And anyways, so we're gonna start. That's the direction we're gonna start going with this. I'm still gonna have demo crew members on here. I'm still gonna have transformations and motivational individuals. But like I said, if you got anything from this podcast, like usual, like it, subscribe it, share it with anybody and everybody. That'll help us grow. So share it, talk about it. If something gets brought up, and Tye's story, if that kind of motivated you, and how he grew up and what environment he grew up into, that and how it evolved into what he is now as a hardworking motherfucker out of prison, correctional officer, sergeant, family man. Yeah. So, anyways, share it. If something is brought up in the conversation, mention it. We will be on YouTube. We will be on actually many platforms, Google Podcast, Spotify, you name it, we'll be on it. So, anyways, do you have anything for the listeners, Tye?
No, just I'm super excited to be here, guys. Fiora kind of told me the route that he wanted to go with this, with local business owners, and I think that's super cool, especially with this COVID stuff going on. You know, it's really important to support your local community. You know, we have a prison background, but you know your community is really like your family. So you know, instead of buying some bullshit on Amazon, you know, if you can go down the street and support someone who is a hardworking motherfucker and getting after it, and you know, pursuing their life's passion, then you know, give them your money. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very excited to do this. I think what we got going is a good thing. It's definitely good intentions. And yeah, we're gonna rock and roll, man. So like this shit, share it, spread it, get it out there, and so stay up.
All right, Christoph, you got anything, Mr. No Mic?
No, not right this second. I'm just glad that you've allowed me to come on to the podcast.
We'll see, man. It might not be permanent.
He's still in training, guys. I apologize. Anyways, guys, so again, like, share, comment. If you think we can do better, let us know. I'm always down for some constructive criticism.
Yes, hurt my feelings.
Yes, hurt my feelings. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
But anyways, love you guys. Keep working your ass off. Let's fucking motivate.
Let's go.
And what he said. Christoph, that's your cue.